Hi, how are you tonight? Sorry, I've got a cough drop in my mouth. It's almost gone. So thanks for stopping by. I'm Roberta Colasino, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. I typically come to you every Wednesday at 7 o'clock with a free crafting class, typically a card, or more often than not a card, but not always. And during the 12 days of Christmas, which is what we're doing right now, I do fewer cards and more three-dimensional projects, things that you could use as gifts. And they're smaller gifts for the most part, things that you would use as a gift for a coworker or a teacher or a neighbor or a friend, or something like that if you belong to a group. I have a friend who, a gift that we made in class a few years ago, she brought one of them. I think she made 6 or 7 of them and brought one to all the ladies in her coffee group. So that type of thing. Something that won't cost you too much money, something that I at least believe will be appreciated because it's handmade. If you're giving it to someone who's not a crafter, they're really going to be kind of amazed by what you make for them. So today I actually have 2 projects. They're both reasonably simple, assuming everything goes well with one of them, because when I made the sample, it went great, which means that now that I'm on live, maybe not so much. And then there's a card, which is pretty easy as well. And I just decided, since the card was easy and I don't believe I've done this particular card before, I thought it would be a good idea. So I will go ahead and put the camera down and we will get started. I just like to cover up the camera when we start out, because I know some people literally get kind of a seasick feeling from watching the camera flipping around and moving, so I try to avoid that if possible. Okay, so aside from the sign on my desk that you've seen every day for the last couple of days, every day I kept saying I've got to show you these things. So I'm going to show them to you today. I purposely put them in camera view so that I couldn't forget them. So this is day 4 of the 12 Days of Christmas 2024, and you are watching me in 11 Lakes Stamper Creatives Facebook group, which is a public group, and I certainly encourage you and invite you to join. There's no obligation to join. I will not blow up your email or your messages or anything like that with stuff. I don't do a lot of advertising. If you do choose to buy something this month, I would appreciate it if you would use that host code and shop with me at www, I think it's here. Nope, I lied. Shop with me at www.rcolasino.stampinup.net. All right, so thank you very much. And like I said, this is day 5, and the only day that I will not be coming to you, I think last night I said Christmas. I'm definitely not coming to you on Christmas. Besides which, it would be a little bit too late for that. So I think I said Christmas, but obviously I meant to say Thanksgiving. All right, so these are 2 things. I couldn't remember if I had done them as part of a 12 Days of Christmas, but I actually did in 2023. I did not use the hashtag on all of my posts that said 12 Days of Christmas and the year. I should have, but I didn't, and I've been going back and adding that. But I did hashtag this as a desktop organizer or a craft organizer, so you should be able to find it. So the first one is a little organizer that is meant to hold just a few things. And because it has cardstock, and in some cases the cardstock is doubled up, this is one very sturdy thing. I would have to work hard to really squash this. It has fallen off the side of the desk a number of times with things in it. It's got this little insert that has a hole cut in the top so that holds the glue bottle, because we like to keep the glue bottle upside down so that we don't have to do this crazy shaking thing every time we're ready to use the glue. And it's meant for that. It's also meant to hold dimensionals, and I have a few different sizes of dimensionals in this little compartment here. And the tear and tape, which I think you saw me use last night, will also fit there nicely. And with a little effort, the glue dots fit in there as well. And then over here, you could put a number of things, but I'm just putting the erasers that I use the most in there. So it's a really nice thing, and I do have the video showing me how to make it, and again, surprisingly sturdy. Now this one is 3 different, are they hexagons? Yes, 3 different hexagons made separately and then put together. Now these are holding all kinds of things, and this is quite heavy. I mean, I can't say for sure, but it weighs at least a pound, maybe a tiny bit more. And some of the things are leaning against the sides, and absolutely no signs whatsoever of sagging or separating or anything like that. I did not use tear and tape on this. I used just the regular Tombow Mono liquid glue. All right, that's all I used on it, and I've had this since 2023, which is when I made it, and at times it's been overstuffed with more things like this, and it's just extremely sturdy and would certainly make a really nice gift to give to someone. I don't think I want those tweezers in there, though. There we go. So I wanted to share those with you so that you could see them. All right, so we'll get started with the first card, and we'll make it together, and then I'll show you a sample that I made on my own. So I did publish something this morning here on Facebook that said that if you were going to try to join along, that you needed a piece of cardstock in the color of your choice that was 4 1/4 by 11 inches. And then it said that we were going to score it on the long side. All right, so remember, scoring means that we're using the light colored blade only. We're going to score it at, whoops, I got it backwards. So the way you hold it and put it on the scoreboard or the trimmer here is different than the way you would hold it and put it on if you were using the Simply Scored that I showed you last night. So you're going to score it at 1 1/2, and then you're going to slide it down to 5 1/2. And you're going to score it at 5 1/2, which is basically half of the card, because 5 1/2 is half of 11. So you're scoring it there, okay? And that is all you're doing. It's pretty darn simple. And I'll show you 2 possible ways to use this card depending on what your interests are. So the first thing we're going to do is to fold it in half. So now this card is a regular 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch or A2 card that will fit in one of our medium envelopes. All right, but we do have this other fold here. So we're also going to fold on this 1 1/2 inch score line in towards the inside of the card. And we're going to burnish that down as well. So I also said that you would need some white cardstock, and I believe this is 3 3/4 by 4. Yes, basic white. And then you would need some designer series paper. So this is also 3 3/4 by 4. And these pieces here are, I believe, oh, I shouldn't have 3 of them. Oh, but they all are the same size. So that was just kind of coincidence, but we only need 2 of them. So each one of these is, I believe, what did I say? 1 1/4 by 4. All right. So the way this is going to work is that this card can be a gift card holder. If you want it to be a gift card holder, then what you're going to do is you're going to put glue here and here. And then what I like to do is I like to put, I got my cards out so that they wouldn't be where I couldn't reach them anymore. So I like to take one of the gift cards. I'm going to try to find kind of a real plastic one because they're thicker. Okay, and I like to put it in there after I've added the glue and close it with that in there, just so that it kind of gets the idea that it needs to bump up a tiny bit. I hope that makes sense to you. If you decide that you don't want this to be a gift card holder, then we're still going to just make it a fun fold. And what you're going to do then is put glue here, here, and here, and just close this off. All right, and it's going to be a fun fold either way. So that's up to you. It can be a gift card holder, and it might not be a gift card holder, and that's going to be entirely up to you. I've been using this bottle of glue, which I think is very close to empty, like all day. So I'm just waiting for it to suddenly cease functioning. All right, so now I'm going to close that. Our cardstock is heavier. It's much heavier than what you find at Michael's or Joann's and other places. And so because of that, you really do want to burnish it down, and you really just want to make sure that you're making that connection. Now, I told you to put this in first, and I forgot, but it's not going to be too much of a problem. And I'm going to leave that there because I do want mine to be a gift card holder. I will take this out for a few moments, though, so that I can put this one on. Now this paper is, I would say, really not too directional, but you look at it and you decide for yourself, depending on what paper that you're using. If it has a direction, obviously just make sure that you're putting it on right side up and that you cut it going in the right direction as well. So in other words, if the direction of your paper goes this way, and now you have to turn it to put the card on that way or the paper on that way, your card is not going to be in the right direction. Okay, so we're going to put that on there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the card, and you'll see I have this area over here that's about the same size as the one here. So with that closed, because that'll help me decide where to put this, I'm going to put some glue on the back of this. And what I tend to do is to put some little dots, and they really are small, right in the corners, because I I really just dislike it when corners of things pop up. All right, so I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to try to get what I think is an equal distance all around all four edges here. So this side edge here, and the top and the bottom, and then this edge here up against the fold. Okay. Then I'm going to take this piece here, and I have to remember to turn it in the right direction because it's not a square. It's 3 3/4 by 4. So I have to make sure I turn it in the right direction. And then I'm going to glue that down. So again, I'm just going to put little dots in the corner. Because if the corners kind of start peeling up, then bad things can happen. All right. And again, we have about 1/4 inch border all the way around here, so I'm going to try to do my best to maintain that. It's not a life and death emergency, but since these two are next to each other, it is nice if you can get them to line up nicely. So now that's it, and now all we have to do is decide what we want in here for a sentiment. I'm trying to think. I knew I might have forgotten one thing, so that might be what I forgot, because I have my sample there. I have a sentiment for the next project, so I did not do a sample for this one. So I think I see Mossy Meadow in there, which is fine because I'm going to use that anyway. So I'm going to use these Christmas labels. They have some very nice sentiments here. They also come with actual label dies, and the label dies are a perfect fit for some, but not all of the sentiments. But because I'm putting it on the inside, well, I take that back. I have to think about it. Maybe I want what I call an innie and an outie. So maybe I want a sentiment on the outside, but then also something on the inside. So let me see what might go together. I could put Hope Your Season is Filled with Magic. I like that one. And then I'm just thinking, I think what might be a nice one to go with that is Believe, or the other way around. Believe on the outside, and then I Hope Your Season is Filled with Magic. I think it could kind of go either way, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to kind of make my own decision. All right, and I always have to find them again once I'm on the inside because it's not in the same place as it is on the cover. So Hope Your Season is Filled with, this looks like that. And that looks like the word magic, okay. And then the other one, Believe. That should be easier to spot. Yep, there it is, okay. So I'm going to grab a couple of blocks here. Now these photopolymer stamps, you want to be careful. In fact, it's even recommended to sort of drop it on your surface and then pick it up with a block because they do have some bend to them. So if I wasn't really paying attention, I could put this on here and it might be sort of bent. Now, you can, if they're long enough and if they'll stick well enough, you can bend them on purpose and make like a little arch, and that's kind of cute. But if that's not what you want to do, then just drop it and then use the block to pick it up and hope that it's straight. All right, and then this one, this is kind of a big block for this one, but we'll use it anyway. And I'm going to use, excuse me, I'm going to use the color Mossy Meadow. So I think I'll do Believe on the outside, and I'm going to have to find a scrap. I think I see one right now. So Hope Your Season. Yeah, I think I want to put this one inside. Okay. And I don't always put it smack in the middle like I used to. Sometimes I move it over to one side. I figure I want to leave myself room to write a message. Just a little hint, if you're not good at saying a lot on the inside of a card, or you're sending a card to someone that you're not quite sure what to say to, other than just, Merry Christmas from so-and-so, then put it in the middle and purposely don't leave yourself a whole lot of room. That's, that's okay. You can do that. All right, now I'm also thinking, so this stamp set does not come with any images. I could probably borrow some from someplace else, but I really am kind of okay leaving that. Or, since I've got this and it's the right size, what I could do is either here or here. This is kind of a pretty common thing that I do. Hang on, I've got to get my little tiny trimmer here. I'm sorry to say that this trimmer is not and never has been available to customers. It was something that was given to demonstrators who were joining as a not an incentive, what do you call it? Like a bonus for joining. There's always all kinds of free stuff that you get when you join Stampin' Up! So this was one of them. And then demonstrators who were current demonstrators were allowed to buy them so that they could show them to people and, hope that that would entice them to join as well. I'm always game to have somebody join my team, whether you just want to be a discount shopper, as it's often called, or whether you think you might like to start a business, or somewhere in between. So somewhere in between means that you maybe know some friends who like to craft, or you have a family member who likes to craft, and that person might buy something from you on occasion. You're not counting on it. You're not counting on it to pay the mortgage or anything like that. But if you sell something, that's great. And if not, that's okay too, because you're getting a 20% discount on everything you buy, plus all the free stuff that you first get when you first sign up. So this is just the tiniest bit too long. Not very much, but just the tiniest bit. And these scissors are great at doing what I call fine work. Okay? Fussy cutting or fine work. So no problem. Cut that right off. And now I can glue this inside my card. And again, here I'm just going to try to center it the best that I can. Sorry, I am seeing that I'm out of camera view, and so I think I just need to move this arm closer to me and then turn this so that I think it will be straight. There we go. I'm getting a shadow from something, but I'm not quite sure what. Unless it's me. No, it's not me. I'm not on that end. I don't know what it is. Could be the computer. I don't know. But as long as you can see what I'm doing right in front of me, that's fine. And then I don't have to worry too much about being off camera. Because otherwise, I'm not really sitting anywhere near the camera, and I'm not sitting on top of the table either. So I'm actually really reaching so that you can see. That's kind of an awkward position to be in. All right, so we're going to kind of zhuzh that over a little bit. And then I have this little trick that I do where I do this sort of bendy thing until it moves the way I want it to move. I'm just trying to make these a little bit more even with each other, more lined up. I'm sure nobody would notice but you. All right, so there's that. So now for this second sentiment, for the outside, Believe, I need to have a scrap of white, or sometimes, I think this is Poppy Parade. The chances of me having a label in Poppy Parade, just because that's what I need, are slim to none. Yeah, of course I don't have one. I might have a Mossy Meadow, though. I think I do. All right, so this one, this shape, is done with a punch. It's called the hexagon punch. And if I'm really lucky, I have, helps if you try opening it from the right end. If I'm really lucky, I have a white one in here. Oh, and I do. Now, if I'm really lucky, this is where my luck may just run out. If I'm really lucky, well, that's the thick white cardstock. All right, if I'm really lucky now, what will happen is that Believe will fit on this piece, and it does. Wow, this just like almost never happens, that it all comes together. So something's going to go wrong here somewhere. Hate to be a Debbie Downer, but it's probably true. All right, so I'm going to ink this up. This stamp pad has been giving me some problems. I re-inked it. But the stamp pads are not meant to last forever, but they do last for years. And there are some little tricks that I've learned and that I've tried successfully for not just re-inking them, but getting rid of, like if they get an odd texture or they start getting hard, getting rid of that and re-inking them and having them be almost like new all over again. So that's kind of nice when that happens. I hate to leave a stamp kicking around with ink on it because I know darn well I'm going to drop something in it. So I like to get out my chamois and clean it like almost immediately. Okay, and I don't remember if I cleaned that one or not, so let's do it. The chamois comes in one piece. I cut mine in half so that I have it for classes. You just wash it with water. Sometimes I use a little soapy water, and it's great. So now the other thing that you can do here to get kind of a background is that you take your background color punch or die cut and you cut it in half. And then what you're going to do is you are going to put some glue just on kind of the top half of this, or the half that I just cut. And you're going to put it on and you're going to slide it until you have as much showing as you think you'd like to see. And then the tricky part is when you are ready to put it on the top or the other side, you want to try to have the same amount showing. So I usually start bigger and then sort of zhuzh it down until it looks good to me. And I'm never looking for perfection. When it happens, I'm very excited about it, but I'm never looking for it. Crafting is definitely not about perfection. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. It's handmade. It's rarely going to be perfect, and that's okay. All right, so now I'm going to grab some of these dimensionals, and I'm going to use them to adhere this to the front of the card. So I want to use a good number of them. I also have these little Teflon scissors. These are Fiskars. There are other brands as well, and there are different sizes. What's nice about these is because they've got Teflon, gooey stuff and gunky stuff, sticky stuff is not going to stick to them, and they're not going to ruin your scissors. So I absolutely use them to get these strips off like this, and use those too because they're definitely worth saving. All right, I've made one of them longer because I wanted to go down the middle here. We understand that these cards are going to go through the mail, and the Postal Service is not, it's not their job to keep your cards safe. And they do go through a roller system. So we try very hard not to let cards get damaged going through that roller system. And having something in the middle so it can't buckle in the middle is a great way of making sure they don't get damaged. So I'm taking my Take Your Pick tool and I'm just lifting the release paper off of these. I can usually get 4 or 5 at a time. Now that I've said that, this one's not cooperating, of course. Try a different angle. You're sort of pushing down and then going out. There we go. So I've got them all off, and then I'm just going to throw those out. My new goal is to put everything away when I'm done using it. So instead of just laying it down next to me, and I see already I'm not following my own whatever. Okay. So now we've got the word believe, and I'm going to just put that smack in the middle there. I could put some like stamped greenery or something on this, but I feel like this background is busy enough that I don't want to do that. All right, so there you go. So there's the card. If you decided it's not going to be a gift card holder, then you're gluing this part down too, and it just looks like you did that on purpose, and it's just a fun fold. If you decide you want it to be a gift card holder, then it goes in there. If you're concerned about the gift card slipping out, put a glue dot on it. Maybe not on that magnetic strip, but someplace else. And it'll just hold with the glue dot. But that seems to be holding up okay. So because I wanted to show you that anything that I'm making today for Christmas could easily be made for something else, I made a different card. So this one is using the, hang on, we have a new catalog coming out very shortly, and I'm barely remembering the names of all the things from the old catalog. So I really need to be careful. So this paper, which is in the current, I believe this is in the annual catalog, is called Wildly Flowering Designer Series paper. And it has a bunch of really pretty patterns. Plus on the back of this one, it's got something that just looks like, almost like, well, more like linen than like burlap. So you've got the flowers, you've got a lot of blues in here, but you've got other colors as well. And I thought that would be very pretty for this. And I put it on the Wild Wheat card back. And then I stamped one of the stamps from the set. So I used Misty Moonlight and Wild Wheat as my colors. This particular suite comes with the Designer Series paper, but it also comes with these, what do they call them? Adhesive backed textured dots. All right, so I put a stamp there. And then I put a stamp here, but I stamped off once to purposely make it lighter so that it would be easier to see the sentiment. It also comes with an embossing folder, and this embossing folder is called the Dashing Design 3D Embossing Folder. Sorry, I was reading upside down. And it comes with these dies. Now these dies are worth the price of admission right here. So they've got dies that cover up, that cut out some of the floral images in the bundle. So the dies will cut out all of these images. But then you also have the dies that make these really pretty labels, or they could be used as a frame or a background, and that type of die is invaluable. It's the thing that you want to have in your stash for sure, because it can be used for so many different things. I probably should confess that I went to bed at about 2 last night, and then much to my surprise, I woke up at 4. So I don't know if I'm even speaking English. I hope I'm doing all right here. Okay, so as you can see, sometimes people will look at a card and say, oh, I don't make Christmas cards, or oh, I don't like that color, or they might say, I don't know if I like that color. Well, any card design that you see me make can be done with any paper, any colors, any sentiments. It could be a birthday card, anything. So I'd like to show you samples of both so that you can see that that really is true. All right, so then next is the 3D project, and I will show you that one. So this one, yes, is a little bit trickier, but I did put the information, at least about the sizes, on the website earlier today, or in this group earlier today. And so what we did with this particular one was, this one is, so I have to check my cheat sheet, 11 by 6.5. Excuse me. So we started out scoring on the long side, on the 11-inch side. We scored at a 1/2 inch. Okay, so we scored at, no, there it is. We scored at a 1/2 inch. And I've got something in my way over here, so I have to be careful. We scored at a 1/2 inch. And then we scored again at 2 inches. Okay, we scored at 2 inches. We scored at 6 inches, which is just all the way to that end of the cutter. But just so that you know, it's not the end, because this has an extending arm that allows you to use paper up to 17 inches, which is like unheard of. Usually, 12 inches is as long as a lot of these cutters give you, because that's the biggest paper most of us are using in our crafting. So now we are going out to 7.5 inches. All right, so the 7's there, 7.5 inches, and we're scoring there as well. Then we are going to flip it around, and we are going to score at 1.5 inches and 5 inches. And basically what that comes down to, I want to make sure this is pushed right up against the top and right up against that line. All right, so 1.5 and 5. And if I were to flip this around and measure it, it would also be 1.5 inches from that side. So basically it's scored at 1.5 inches from either side here. And then the other measurements are a little bit different. Okay, so I think we can get that out of our way for now. And then the best thing that we can do now is to start to fold on our score lines. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not. It's never easy. But when you score it, the scoring blade makes an indent. So one side is kind of indented and the other side has a little bump. And you would think that you would fold it in on the indent, but it's actually just the opposite. It looks better if you fold it in on the bump. So we're folding that one in, that's the 1/2 inch one, and this is the 2-inch one. Sometimes on dark paper it's hard to see. And this is the 6-inch one, and then, here it is. Here is the 7.5 inch one. And then we're going to flip it over and score on this one that is 1.5 from the other, 1.5 from the edge. And this is also 1.5 from the edge, even though when we did it on the trimmer, it came out to be 5 inches. That's just kind of the way you do it. So now, in order to make this into a type of a box, we have to get rid of some of this stuff, all right? So I think I can show you this. Here, this pen is pretty dark. We want to get rid of this square here and this little rectangle at the end. So both of these corners we want to get rid of. So I mark an X. Sometimes in classes I even mark an X because we want to make sure that we cut off the right part. So we're going to trim. This is where our snips come in very handy because they're sharp and they make a very nice straight line and they don't go too far. So we're cutting that off, and that's it. You could save that for something, for punching something out at some point. I don't always save things that small because I find that I just end up with a big collection of them and I'm really not using them. Sometimes I do. At Christmas time, I might save this color because I could see where I might use it again. Okay, so this thing right here is going to be the lid of our box. Now we have these little squares in the center. We don't want to get rid of those, though. We're not getting rid of them. We're not cutting them out. But what we are doing is we're going to cut up and stop at that other score line, that 1.5 inch score line. Okay, so we're not going beyond that. And then we're going to cut up this way. And then what we want to do is, I call it mitering. Some people call it wedging. You can call it whatever you want. But we're just going to start at the bottom here, not too far in, and cut up just to that edge and take off this little piece that looks a little bit like a wedge. You can see that it's angled. All right, that's what we're taking off. That just kind of makes the box go together more easily. And we're going to do the same thing here on the other side. But you want to be careful just to angle it so that you're going to end right where you want to end at the edge. And it should come off very easily at that point. And then we're going to turn it around and do the same thing to this square on this side. What's great about videos like this is that if you decide you want to make this and you're not really good at making something just by reading directions, you can come back and watch the video, and what I love to do is just keep pausing it. And then I write down the directions for myself, but I'm seeing it being done also, which really helps. And I just keep pausing it until I get it. And that's why I also suggested that if anybody wanted to play along tonight, that's why I gave you the dimensions, because sometimes if you play along and you make it once, then you've kind of got it in your head how it works. Now, just because we don't need all of this length, I am going to go ahead and just cut, I don't know, maybe 1/2 inch off of that tab, just because we really don't need it, and cut about 1/2 inch off of that tab. When you're putting together a 3-dimensional project, the last thing that you want is to have bulk that gets in the way, okay? So we try to get rid of that bulk. All right, so this is the top of the box, and this is the flap. And I know that on my sample, I didn't do a good enough job of burnishing this down or a good enough job of burnishing this down, because it will make a difference if we don't, okay? So then, these 2 little tabs that we just trimmed a little bit are going to come and just be inside. They don't really need to be glued at all. And this one is going to go this way, okay, so that the part that, like a seam, if you want to call it that, is going to be facing on the back, all right? So what we need to do then is to put glue, and again, sometimes in my classes I will literally put a G for glue or the word glue, just to remind people, because it's hard to keep track of this stuff, especially if you're not used to doing it. All right, so we're going to put the glue there. And you can use tear and tape if you want. Again, I prefer the glue because it allows me a little wiggle room. So if I don't get it lined up right the first time and I've pressed it in place and I use the tear and tape, I'm kind of screwed. So, and I'm not going to put glue over there because that can get where I don't want it and make a mess. So the little tab needs to be on the inside, and then I'm going to hold it straight, and then I have to show you something, all right? Right now, I'm only concerned with being lined up at the bottom and with this side. And the reason I say that is because when you look at this, you're going to see this doesn't look even. One piece is higher than the other, and that's like, you know, making you say, well, wait a minute, you did something wrong, you didn't measure right, but I didn't. I promise, okay? That's the way it's supposed to look. You can also then take your bone folder and just burnish that down. It's just another way of letting that glue make the connection with the papers. So now this one I'm going to shove in there, okay? And then I'm going to put the glue on this one where I put the G, and even I had to take a second look at it to be sure, so I'm glad I put the G. And this glue really is strong, you don't need a lot. And I'm going to do my little dots in the corner again. And then as I fold it, I'm just going to make sure that I'm moving this box if I have to, so that this is lined up. Okay, and it's kind of not cooperating, so you see the glue gives me the wiggle room. There we go, much better. All right, and then I can stick my hand in there, make sure that it's kind of stuck in place, and then once I'm sure it's not going to move, I can then go in with my bone folder and press it down a little bit more. So now, about this part that looks like it's wrong, this is what we're going to do with that. We're going to take our snips and we're going to cut right there where it meets the front of the box, and we're going to cut up at an angle to this corner here. I know it's tough with dark paper, so I want to make sure you can see that. So we're going up at an angle from here to here, and we're making an angle. And if it's not like 200% straight, don't worry about it. Nobody cares, honest. All right, same thing here. So we want to make sure that we're angling up so that when we get to the end, we're right there at that sort of joint where the box folds in. Okay, and now we've got two angled sides to the box. And this is the lid to the box. All right, now I have seen people, I mean, you can't get any, well, no, unless you're using 12 by 12, you can't get any bigger than 11. So this is your closure right here. And there's a couple of different things you can do. I'm not going to worry about them today, but you could take a scallop die if you had one, or a scallop punch, but that would make this whole thing smaller. All right, the other thing that you can do is, I'm looking for my corner punch. And of course, it's never where I need it. Well, I have this one. Okay. Stampin' Up! Does not have a current corner punch right now, so we have a really old one that I use sometimes, and then this one, which I've had forever. And you can still order these. We come out with a new corner punch every so many years. So basically, all I'm doing is clipping the corner just so that it looks a little bit smoother and a little bit nicer. There we go. It's a little noisy. Okay. Now, we're not going to glue this shut, and then you might ask, what are we going to put in here? So, depending on what you want, you could fill this with tea bags, you could fill it with candy. It will very nicely, this width here is about the same, not with the same length as the Hershey Nuggets. So you could actually stack, I think it was 3 or 4 in the bottom of this, and keep stacking them up. So you could actually have a whole lot of Hershey Nuggets in here, or you could just fill it loosely with some of that, you know, really kind of fun Christmas hard candy. doesn't, you notice my mind goes to candy, right? It doesn't have to be candy. It could be, you could probably even fit some 3x3 cards in here if you wanted to. Yeah, I don't know. That's up to you, I guess, what you're going to put in it. But it's a little bit bigger than some of the boxes that I've made. So now we've got designer series paper. And I told you that that had to have certain dimensions as well, and that you only needed 2 pieces. So the piece that is 3 3/4 by 1 3/4 is going to go on the top here. Now, you have choices. This would make it kind of monotone, would make it kind of, well, maybe a little bit dull. This is more fun. It depends on who you're giving it to. Are they a fun person? Will they appreciate snow boots or Santa boots on their thing, or will they not? I think all my friends are fun and that they would appreciate it, but it's up to you. And that is the nice thing about our cardstock and our designer series paper, rather, being 2-sided, is that you've got options. You could even do a little bit of each. You could make just this little top, the one that's kind of fun with the boots, and then have the, what do we call that? You call it like damask, right? So also, because this is directional, I had to be careful about which direction I cut it in. Oops. There we go. And then this one is going to go right on the front. Some people would put paper on the sides and on the back, and, you know, have at it. You can certainly do that if you want to. I don't think anybody cares. It's going to look really pretty when they first look at it. And I don't like to waste paper because I'm a bit of a paper hoarder. So I'm just fine with doing the top in the front. Sometimes I feel like I have to stand up when I'm doing this. Well, I have a reminder on my phone to pay the gas and electric bill. Well, I'm quite sure that if I don't, they will be reminding me as well. No problem there. I'm sure they're not going to let me get away with not paying it. Okay. And then we've got our Be Merry. And this is one of the dies that I mentioned to you. And these dies do have, they're not ripped, they're not broken, they actually have slots in them so that you can put ribbon through them if you want, and then wrap the ribbon around. Just this time for this particular one, I'm not going to do that. And if I don't want that, see, I misstamped on that side. If I don't want that to look funky and I want it to look flat, then I can just take some Scotch tape and just very carefully tape that down without letting any of the tape go over the edges. I don't have a ribbon right now that I feel like would really go with this well, so that's why I'm just not going to bother. But I am going to show you what I did with the other project that I made, the same box, but in a different way. And I'm going to offer an alternative for this one. Okay, so now I've got the tape that's going to keep it from looking wonky. And again, I think I'm going to reach out for those dimensionals and put some of those on the back to hold that on. Come on. There we go. All right, so that's not broken. I should show you how this works. The Take Your Pick tool has double ends on each side, and there is a little locking mechanism. You have to put it in just the right way. Yep, just the right way, and then you have to turn the locking mechanism. So when you take the cap off, you're just supposed to pull, and I always find myself twisting. And when I do that, it comes apart. But there's nothing wrong with it. There's just something wrong with me, that I can't catch on to pulling instead of twisting. Okay, so we're going to put that, just keeping in mind that this is going to come down, so we'll kind of have it be in the middle, but in the middle with that down, if that makes any sense at all. And that really isn't. Just a little bit lower down, and centered if you can. Again, not a big deal if you can't. So I will show you my sample now so that you can see what I did with that. And I'm not going to say it was a failure, but I wasn't totally happy with it, and I'll show you why. So my sample is also not a Christmas box. Same recipe, so to speak, but not a Christmas box. So this one uses the Latte Love stamp set and dies, which is all about coffee. All right, so it's got the stamp set, it's got the dies, it's got, this is actually part of the Designer Series paper, and I just cut one out. But there's also a stamp for a coffee cup, and then a die that will cut that out, that coffee cup. It even has the French press, it has a regular, like a drip coffee maker, it's got little coffee cups. It's very cool. I love this set. Very, very cool. And I'm hoping this will carry over, but Designer Series paper almost never carries over, and I love the paper, so I'm very sad that that might be going away. So I did not have any Calypso coral ribbon, but I found this ribbon in my stash. It's Stampin' Up! Ribbon that probably retired, I don't even know, 5 years ago, maybe more. It's called Tangerine Tango, and the reason I used it was because I was looking for thin ribbon. So what I did was I took my 1/8 inch hole punch, and I punched a hole in the top, and then I took a pen and kind of doodled through the hole there so that I knew where to punch the next hole, and then I ran the ribbon through, and then I held it as tight as I could, and then I tied the bow. So if when someone opens it, they can open it just by, pulling on that. So what I wasn't happy with was that I couldn't get it pulled tight enough to keep that down like it was supposed to be. Again, not a big thing. I don't think anybody's going to care. From the front view, you don't even notice that. But I thought I would at least show you an alternative. And an alternative would be to use the dots, the Velcro dots. So I'm just going to cut off one set of them. When I get these, I put them together right away. Wrong drawer. And it's kind of easier that way. And then I peel off one side. I don't think it really matters which side. I peel off one side, and maybe I should put it on here because this one doesn't have a lot of room. Try to get it in the middle. Again, it's not critical. And then I press that down good. And these are pretty darn sticky. And then you gotta peel the backing off the other side, which is a little tricky sometimes. Almost got it. Almost. There we go. And then you take it and you make sure that this is pushed over the way you want it. And then you press that down. And now you're closing it. And then I will very gently open it again, because what I want to do, and that's why, is because of where this is, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to get that burnished down really well, and so the best thing to do is to open it. I'll use my bone folder and just poke that in there, and then I will work on getting this side down, and then I will work on getting this side down. I can go in with my bone folder and press down on that. I've heard some people say take your heat tool or a blow dryer and just gently, you don't want to set the thing on fire, just gently warm it up, and it will really make the glue kind of stickier and make it adhere better. I've never tried that. I haven't really needed to. And now you can put your stuff in, press that down, and then press the flap, and I'm not going to get that big gap like I have there, which again is not a disaster, but it bugged me. Okay, so that's that. Those are those two boxes. So exactly the same box, exactly the same recipe to make each of them, but they each come out looking like something different and have a different purpose depending on the season. So this is just a thank you. Okay, so those were the two cards. I'm trying to think, I got these out for a reason. I think maybe I was going to put something on there. Maybe I'll do that. So I've got some here that kind of fell down to the bottom, and I'm not sure why. So I'm going to dump them out and see if they're usable. Sometimes if they're like handled a little too much, the glue backing comes off of these, and if they do, then I just use glue, because I'm not going to throw them out just because they may have lost their sticky backing, and it looks like that's what happened. So I'm going to take, where's one of the fine tip glue bottles? Take one of the fine tip glue bottles, and I'm going to make the tiniest Oh, that was not tiny, just so you know. That was not tiny at all. But okay, take a tiny bit of glue, then take my Take Your Pick tool, and because that's upside down now, I've got to flip it over. I may need both sides of my Take Your Pick tool. Flip it over, and then pick it up, and put it on the glue. And then you've just got to use like a thumbnail or something, and then just press that down, and it will stay glued, no problem. And then I can just take another tiny little dot and maybe put one over here. Yeah, that was more like a tiny dot. You honestly don't need much. And I'm going to flip that over again so it's going in the right way. So they're not just sequins, they actually look like little cups almost. They have they're concave. They go in just a little bit. Okay. Now I don't want to use these because they're a different color, so I'm going to grab another gold one that has the sticky stuff on it. They say you should do things in threes and have like a triangular pattern to things because it draws the eye in and lets it land on the focal point. I don't know, that's like artist talk. I don't know how true it is, to be very honest with you, but I do it. So these apparently don't have any sticky on them, but again, I'm not going to get rid of them because of that. I can use them. Assuming I can corral them. Okay, there we go. So there's the two boxes, one for Christmas, one not for Christmas. And there's the two cards, which could be gift holders, gift card holders or not. One for Christmas and one not for Christmas. And I really like these. I'm very happy with them, and I can think of all kinds of things to put in here. I just have to get my mind off of chocolate. And then I did want to show you, even though I did post some pictures, I wanted to show you, last night we did these, the pouches, and they held together pretty well. This one's probably the most overstuffed of all of them, and so this is the one that says Sending Hugs, and it's kind of like a comfort food thing. So they've got popcorn, and they've got a chocolate bar, and they've got hot chocolate. They've got a really nice card, and then they have a Google Play card as well, so maybe they want to download some music and listen to some comforting music. Maybe they got a little something going on. This one is kind of a get well one, but instead of putting get well, especially because I couldn't find my get well sentiment, I just put thinking of you. But it's got things that you would use if you were sick. It's got the cough drops, it's got the emergency immune stuff, and then it's got the ginger peach tea. All right, so it might be especially good if you had an upset stomach, let's say. And then this one is the one with the socks in it, which is a little bulkier too. So this one, you might say, well, gee, a pair of socks and a candy cane is not much of a gift, but there are 3 gift cards in here. So for all you know, there's $150 worth of gift cards in here, but I personally hate giving someone just a gift card and not something else, even if it's a little treat box with some candy in it. I don't know why, it just bothers me. So this way you're giving them a little something else, and then you're giving them the gift cards. Then this one is the thank you, and this could be a gift that you would give to a crafty friend of yours. It says thank you. It's using Christmas paper and Christmas decoration, but it doesn't necessarily say Christmas, and certainly if you took this off, it could be anything. So they've got a bone folder in here and some new up-to-date bling and some tear and tape and some Stampin' Dimensionals. So that would be a really nice gift for a crafty friend of yours, or a fellow demonstrator if you're a demonstrator. And then the last one, I decided, this was kind of like the stationary one, but I decided just to put the cat stamp pad, or the cat stamp in there, good grief, and the pen, and then the birthday card, and then hiding behind the birthday card is some gift cards. And what's nice about this is I put this on with just a dot of glue, just a glue dot. And so if you have something that's glued on to something else, don't take it off by ripping it off. Take it off by twisting it, and with any luck it won't tear everything, and maybe it doesn't matter because maybe they're going to throw the packaging all away anyway. And obviously I wouldn't give a person a birthday card not in an envelope, but I wanted you to see the card as well, and that it's got similar coloring and everything, so everything's kind of matchy-matchy. All right, so those were last night's project, and I just kind of finished them off this morning and made them a little bit more complete. And I've been thinking that there might be a way to make these, even if it's just 3/4 of an inch bigger, and maybe even a way to somehow create a little bit more of an arch on this so that things go in there without putting too much pressure on it. So, and the other option obviously is that you could staple, use a tiny stapler. I have the, what do you call it? The Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher. Stampin' Up! Used to have one, but we don't sell it anymore. And now I understand they even make staples in colors. So you could do green staples, Christmas colors. I don't know about some of these colors. They might not have all of those. So thank you very much for joining me tonight, and I hope that you will give some of these projects a try for sure. If you have any questions, please just ask in the group or drop me a private message, whatever you feel comfortable with. And I will see you tomorrow night, and I'll also post what you need if you're going to join in tomorrow night. All right. Hey, Vicki, how are you? All right. So have a great night, and we'll see you in a week.